Good evening. Tina Bayliss had no idea the man she had gone on several dates with was a convicted child killer. That was until he strangled her 13-year-old daughter in her family home. Tina Bayliss is now calling for a major law change. Tina is my guest tonight, and Lynched starts right now. Good evening to you. Well, Tina Bayliss's beautiful daughter, Jade, was gagged and strangled in her Christchurch home in November 2011 by killer Jeremy McLaughlin, a man with a criminal past that no one, not even police, warned Tina about. The mother of three was naturally devastated to learn her daughter had been murdered, but she was dealt another cruel blow when she found out that Jade's death could have been prevented. And now she's calling on the government to do more, to allow police to inform the public of those who could be at risk to other people, and for greater transparency between the Australian and New Zealand government agencies. Tina is my guest and joins me now. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for your time tonight. I know this is not an easy subject, so I really appreciate you telling me this story. We'll get to the fact that you are calling for a law change later on, but I think it's important to start with your story. So you meet what we now know is a convicted child killer. Take me back to the time, if you would, Tina, when you meet Jeremy for the first time. When and how did this relationship, as it were, start?
I met Jeremy at work. I worked for a company that he worked for, not in the same place, different areas. I met him there, I knew of him from there. He also was a bouncer down in a nightclub in town as well, so I sort of put two and two together one night when I bumped into him when he was working on the door, and recognised who he was and got talking. And
what was your initial impression of him when you were talking to him?
He seemed a really nice guy, really, very polite, well-mannered. Yeah, I didn't have any problems or issues, or I wasn't suspicious of anything whatsoever, so I carried the night on. Obviously, it was a few drinks inside me. He wasn't drinking due to his job. He offered to take me home, and I said no. I taxied home. And then a few days later, I got a phone call to say if I wanted to go out for a date with him, and I thought, well, what harm is that, you know? So I went out on a sort of a flash kind of quick date evening. Do
you remember where you went?
To be honest with you, no, I don't actually. I don't think it was really that special, you know. It was just a quick get to know each other, a few drinks, and the conversation was there. He told me, you know, who he worked for, what he actually did in his job, and where he'd moved around in the country, and who his friends were, and it worked out that we had a lot of mutual friends, so things made it a little bit easier for us to get along. And
so after the initial sort of getting to know each other, it seemed okay, did it not?
Yep.
Jeremy, who we now know to be a child killer, no alarm bells?
No, none whatsoever, nothing. If anything, he was really good with my children when he met them. He felt, well, I think he sort of felt really close to them, like he had a bit of a childish side to him. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't have children, so he seemed to get on really well.
So, were you dating Jeremy, or was it more of a getting to know each other? He comes into your family life to some degree.
It was getting to know each other in my eyes. I knew him, I think, in full time about 6 weeks. I think I went out on a couple of dates with him. There was nothing really there for me. There was no spark or anything there, and I wasn't going to lead him on after 6 weeks. I thought it was a bit unfair. So,
but initially it was good company.
Yes, it was.
It would have been nice to feel like somebody wanted to take you out on a bit of a date.
Yep.
Come into your life.
Yep. He got very heavy very quickly, and that's what I didn't like about it. He would pick my children up while I was at school, while I was at work. He would pick them up when they were on holiday without me knowing. He would just knock on the front door and pick them up and put them in the car and take them out. And
take them where?
He would take them to the park, he would take them to the mall, he would meet me at work with my children.
Unannounced?
Yes. yes.
When was the first time you recall thinking it went from nice Jeremy to this is a little bit too full on for me?
Within about 4 weeks.
So about a month?
Yes.
Do you recall thinking at the time, this is just not quite right, and what am I going to do to try and get this man
Yep, I did.
just to back off without hurting his feelings and making him feel terrible? Because by all accounts, you're probably still thinking he seems like a nice person. He's trying to make the biggest effort to court me, so to speak, and my kids. But do you recall a time where you thought, oh, this is just too much?
Yeah, I remember sending him a text message and just sort of saying, listen, you know, when my kids are at home, my eldest Jade would be looking after them while I had to work, or they would get looked after by friends, parents or whatever. And I asked Jeremy not to go to my home and disturb my children or do anything along the lines of that. And he couldn't understand what was wrong with that. He thought it was a bit odd in me saying, I don't want you near my children when I'm not there.
What was his reaction when you sent him a text saying, I guess in a polite way, back off?
He kept on firing text messages at me. He couldn't understand. Everything was still all right in his eyes. He couldn't understand. It was weird that he was doing that.
So I'm guessing then what the communication you had to come a lot stronger to get the message that it was inappropriate for this man to be going to your home without you being there. So how long did that communication take place? Are we talking several days before you felt that he finally got the message, or what?
I still don't believe he did get the message. I really think he still thought that to the day that he killed Jade, that he had some involvement in my life. That's how I feel. There was a particular instance where I give him a back door key or a front door key, I can't remember. He was doing some work on some lawns of mine, and I give him a key so he could enter the house, and when I got home the house was all locked up, and I got a text message to say that he'd look in the oven. I looked in the oven and there was a fully cooked lasagna in there, and there was, he thought was really sweet, and I can see that, but only knowing this person for such a short period of time, I thought that was a bit forward, a bit full on. And no matter how many times I asked him not to do them things, he still would. He still would, yeah.
Got to take a break. When we return, why did Tina's daughter actually die, and how could have this death have been prevented? Stay with us. Welcome back to CTV's Lynched program. My guest tonight is Tina Bayliss. Tina, so before you even know that this man that comes into your life is going to murder your daughter, set fire to your house, we're up to the point where you've known this man for just over a month. He starts to come on too strong. He's making lasagna for you. It's becoming more and more creepy, if I can say that. Do you recall the time where you thought, he's not getting the message, I need to seek some advice on this?
Yeah, it was around about bonfire night, around about the end of October. Went to a friend's party in her garden. There was a barbecue party, firework display, and I remember his friend came along as part of the party crew and was watching. I felt like he was watching me for most of the evening. And
Jeremy or the friend?
The friend. Jeremy wasn't there, but I felt that I was being watched. I thought it was just, it was being staged. And I left the party pretty early because I felt uncomfortable with him watching every move every room I went in, he followed me. And I left, and we jumped into a cab and we went off to a local pub. And the next morning, I got several text messages, bombarded text messages, saying just some nasty things. He knew exactly where I was, who I was with, what house, what pub.
This is Jeremy.
This is Jeremy. So that feeling I had of being watched that night
You were bang on.
Yes, I was spot on. And towards the end of that evening, I remember a bit of an argument broke out between me and the so-called friend of his. And I remember saying, I'm getting out of here, I don't feel comfortable with this. And the guy threatened me and said that I was playing with fire. And I left and I went off, and that was the end of that with him. And I just thought, no, this is crazy. This is just not normal behaviour. You know, these guys are older than I am, and you know, it just seemed very childish behaviour.
Yes, it does seem childish, but I suppose looking back now, you still wouldn't have thought the worst. All right, so when did you decide, I need to go to police and seek some advice now? This is getting to the point where I'm feeling threatened.
I went on the Monday, 4 days before Jade passed away. I went to the police station. I went to work on the Monday morning, and one of my colleagues at work, just passing comment, asked how my relationship was going with Jeremy, and I said not very well. You know, I thought he was a bit weird, and he was coming on to me too strong. And the chap passed a comment, is it true what they say about him? And I said, what's that? And they said that he killed somebody in Australia. And my heart sank, and I said, no, I've not heard that one, and you know, I wouldn't go around spreading them rumours, because they could be pretty vicious. So I left work that day, went to a friend's house, and I said to him, oh, what do I do? You know, and he said, I think we should go to the police station. And I said, okay, let's go. So we went to the police station that afternoon, later on in that afternoon, and went to seek some advice.
And what did you ask? What did you tell them? What were you hoping for? My
words were, I've come to ask some advice about what to do about this guy. His name's Jeremy McLaughlin. Here's the text messages that I've been receiving from this guy. And is it true that he's been done for murder in Australia? That was my words. And the policeman took a step back. He went to the computer. He looked at the screen. And his words were, I know this guy, he's a prick. That's kind of all I remember, that scenario. And then he said, what do you want me to do about it? And I said, well, what can I do? Is it true? And he said, no, you'll be all right kind of thing. And I said, well, what can I do? He said, oh, you can go down the route of getting a protection order, which you have to go and seek legal advice about. Or I can give you a trespass order, and that will keep him away from you if he's on your property. So I took his advice and took the trespass order.
4 days after that initial conversation with the cops, your daughter is dead. Do you recall when you got the news that your house was on fire and that your daughter was inside, Tina?
I do. I was standing at customer services actually trying to call Jade at home because she was off school sick, and I was trying to ring her mobile, and it just went straight into answer machine numerous times, which didn't alarm me because Jade wasn't massive on carrying her mobile around with her or constantly charging it up like teenagers do. That didn't alarm me.
But you knew your house was on fire?
No, I didn't know it was on fire.
At this stage?
No.
So when did you know your house was on fire?
I started to panic when I was ringing home. I couldn't get in touch with home.
Right.
And I rang one of Jade's friends at Cashmere High School and asked him to come running out because we live next door. And as he came running out of his school, the road was blocked off with fire engines and ambulances and cordoned off by the police. And he was trying to push, because he was very close to Jade, he was trying to push forward at the front and ask somebody what was going on. They wouldn't give him any information. And young Daniel said to the policeman, you know, I've got Jade's mum on the phone. This is the owner of the house. And the policeman took the phone off Daniel and told me to stay exactly where I was and to take a seat until somebody got to me.
Do you remember being told that
Yeah.
Jade was dead?
Yeah.
Did you think for a second that it was Jeremy's?
I did actually.
Really?
Yeah, in a heartbeat, yeah. I knew when I left that house on that day that that house was safe and secure. I knew it just wouldn't burn down. I also knew that if there was a fire, Jade could have very, very easily got out of the house. Very easily.
It's hard to ask you these questions, and I take no pleasure in this at all, Tina, but we know now that he was convicted of murder. He gagged and strangled her, and then burnt down the house. How do you comprehend that as a mum of 3 kids?
I've got to be strong for the other 2. If it wasn't for them, I don't know how I would get through each day. I wake up and I still have to fight every day for them, really. I mean, we've got no family here in New Zealand. There's just me and the kids, and we have to live every day and just get through it. And we have to be strong for each other. And
it's come to that point now whether you want a law change, because there are some systemic failures, I believe, in the police system, the communication system, because this killer had killed before in Australia. So now you're calling on a law change. We've got to take a break, but this is an important aspect of this program to discuss why you're here, and that is to get action on change.org. So stay with us. We'll give you those details next, and how you can help ensure this type of thing never happens again. Welcome back to Lynched on CTV. My guest tonight is Tina Bayliss. Tina, let's fast forward a little bit now. So at this stage where we've been through a court process, this killer is behind bars, but then you find out that this Jeremy McLaughlin has killed before, or at least been an accessory to killer. We can say the words child killer in Australia. How the hell does that, what does that mean to know that essentially this could have been prevented? We've got police that weren't talking to police in Australia. We've got the fact that you weren't given the information that you so deserved.
yeah.
When did you start to think that something needs to change here?
Oh, straight away. I just wanted to blame everybody. I blamed the police to start off with for not giving me that information. And then I blamed Jeremy for doing what he did. And then I blamed everybody. I still do put the blame on a lot of people that maybe I shouldn't, but I do understand there is a process in place that they're trying to share information between Australia and New Zealand, but it's a lengthy process.
Do you believe that the day you saw that police officer, do you believe he had access to the file that suggested this man had killed? When the police officer said to you, this man's a prick,
I believe he had access to his criminal convictions in New Zealand. I don't believe he had access to his convictions in Australia.
and that's why you're here today, to raise the awareness to get that sorted out.
Yes, absolutely.
But the reason we want this sorted out, because you've seen something similar, TVNZ Sunday program have something similar, a killer from Australia, now back in New Zealand, able to roam and walk free. I mean, on the front page of on the television, so let's hope that's not the case. But that's sparked you into action. You're starting a petition.
Yep.
What is it about? What do you hope can be achieved by this, Tina?
All right, the petition it covers hopefully a few things. First and foremost is to have a major crimes register here in New Zealand and Australia. And, you know, when a crime is committed in New Zealand, nothing petty, not like when you've had a fight outside of a pub or you've nicked a Mars bar when you're 14. I'm talking about child murders, I'm talking about arsonists, I'm talking about domestic violence. I'm talking about having a register that you can go and you can find out this information.
A public register?
Absolutely. Or we can have a public register for sex offenders, paedophiles. Why can't we have one for serious crimes?
At the moment, it's kind of an ad hoc response. You've probably been in touch with the Sensible Sentencing Trust. They run a great website, but it's sort of an ad hoc response, depending on whether it's been covered by the media. And that's the danger, isn't it? That
Absolutely,
we need something more than that.
We do.
You needed to know, and that police officer down, was it Sydenham? Where did you go to first?
Sydenham, yep.
He needed to know that the person that you were seeing, you know, briefly, was a blimmin' child killer, but you had no access to that, and potentially that police officer didn't either.
No, I think that police officer would have protected me and my family a lot more if he had access to that information. Even if he wasn't allowed to share that information with me, I think he would have tried his best to protect us.
You've started a petition on change.org,
Yep.
change.org website.
correct.
You're getting an overwhelming, and rightly so, deserved response.
Yep.
Tell me about that, the response you're getting.
We've had about 37,500 signatures so far, mainly in New Zealand, from New Zealand residents, which is obviously very overwhelming. We need this law change. We need criminals that get deported back into New Zealand to have some sort of parole conditions and to have access to rehabilitation, easy access. There is access for them, but they've got to go looking for it themselves. When they live in little communities and they don't know the area, it's pretty hard to go looking for them. Conditions, I mean, parole conditions. You do your time in New Zealand, you come out of prison, and you have to abide by your parole conditions, otherwise you're back inside. Why can't that happen with deported criminals back here?
Absolutely it should, particularly child killers.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll give the details into this program. I'll put them on my Facebook page.
Thank
but
you.
the difficulty you're having now, Tina, is that you may have to go through some of the court process again. We've got this killer who's now appealing, I understand, his sentencing or the murder conviction probably to manslaughter now. What do you see in this? Because at the same time, we've got somebody here who's been a threat in Australia. The jury was not allowed to know that too, were they?
No, I had to keep that very, very quiet, which was really hard. Actually, it was really hard because I just wanted to go out and I just wanted to blurt it. I just wanted to scream, tell everybody. But obviously, you know, that it was not allowed. Nothing had to be said to anybody.
Gee, I don't know how you could have coped with that. I would have wanted to yell and scream at every juror sitting there that this man is a convicted child killer. But you, as a mum, weren't allowed to even say anything.
No, no. I didn't find out some of the information until the day of the court trial, neither, about what happened to Jade that particular day.
Give us the details. If people want to sign this online petition, which I hope will affect change, because the power of the media and sadly the power of signing things now does have some sway. So give us the details.
It's on change.org. It's under Jade Bayliss. You just click on it. You just click to sign the petition, put your name, your email address. You don't have to put a reason why you're signing it. It's optional. And just click send and that's it. Done.
What I'll do is I'll put the details on my Facebook page later on tonight after this program is broadcast. But one thing I want to ask you though, Tina, and I haven't asked this, what are your fondest memories of Jade?
Jade was my firstborn. I had Jade when I was 18 years old, and we were very young together, growing up together. My fondest memories is how beautiful, how much of a little angel, in an irony kind of way. She was just gorgeous in every sense. Intelligent, beautiful, academic.
And fun.
Absolutely.
Because you had her reasonably young, do you think that created a stronger bond in a way?
She was very quiet, but when she said some things, they were funny. She was funny. She's very, very intelligent. She loved to stick in at school. You know, she had some very good friends at school.
And how are your other kids doing now?
Yep. They're all good. We're getting through it. Like I said, you know, we've got no family here in New Zealand, so we have to stick together, which I think makes us stronger.
I want to thank you for being on the show. I mean, we could talk for a long time. It's gone so fast, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
But do stay in touch with us.
We'll do that.
And if you would like to comment on tonight's program, please head to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Lynched in NZ. We will also post the details of Tina's petition via the org website too, which is change.org. All the details will be on my Facebook page later on tonight. And that is our show. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, Tina. Have a good night.